Live from KSAT 12, the news at noon starts right now.
A teen arrested and accused of planning a mass attack at Rhodes Middle School is back in court today.
Well, that teen has now officially been charged with possession of a prohibited weapon, a third-degree felony, but other charges are still pending. So today's hearing was a detention hearing. So the judge ordered that teen to continue to remain in custody and ordered the state to start the process of handing over evidence to the defense. The next hearing will be on July 10th.
We, of course, will have more on this case coming up later this afternoon.
Well, new this noon, deputies need your help in finding this man here. The Bexar County Sheriff's Office says 29-year-old Jocelyn Brown was last seen about a week ago.
Brown was reported missing on Wednesday. He was last spotted at his home in the 13,800 block of Isaris Lane around 10 p.m. on June 19th. Brown is described as 5 feet 7 inches tall with brown eyes and black hair. He was wearing gray shorts and carrying a dark-colored Puma backpack with a red stripe.
Now, deputies say family members are worried about Brown because he has a medical condition and may not be following his prescribed treatment plan. So if you can help deputies, you can call that number on your screen. That's 210-335-6000. Or you can also email the Bexar County Sheriff's Office Missing Persons Unit at missingpersons@bearsot.org.
Taking a look outside with live cam, we know it's already so humid out there. You can almost see it, but we're hoping for a couple downpours here and there.
We're hoping. I will tell you, though, Courtney, that our rain chances are starting to decrease a little bit as we go forward in time. So I think we'll see less on the radar this afternoon than we've seen the last couple days. Doesn't mean we can't see a stray shower or storm, but the pattern's starting to shift a little bit. Let me show you the satellite picture along with the radar, and you can see where some of the showers and where the storms are right now. We're still seeing some of those along the coast, but a lot of this activity is oriented east of San Antonio, and that's, I think, where the best chance for rain will be today. That said, we are starting to see some cloud cover, and a few of these could bubble up into a shower or storm. Right now, we're looking at 86 degrees outside, 86 in New Braunfels, but it feels like 90 when you factor in that humidity. It's awful sticky. 87 Converse feels like 93 there. Heat index values go all the way up to near 100. Our forecast today will put in a 20% chance of rain versus that 30% chance we saw yesterday. 93 at 5 o'clock, 92 at 6 p.m., and then rain chances fall off after the sun goes down, and we'll dip into the 80s tonight. One big topic of conversation that you're going to hear a lot about in the coming days is the arrival of some Saharan dust. What does that mean to you? We'll take a look at that forecast in just a couple minutes. Steph?
Thank you, Justin. Well, so far, the Texas heat has been pretty manageable, but as we get deeper into the summer, Mother Nature will turn up the temperature.
And while you obviously might know how the heat can affect you physically, what about your mental health?
Well, it can have a big impact, especially for those with mental illness and also people experiencing homelessness.
So Patty Santos explains the mental risks associated with high heat and how to protect people at the highest risk.
If the soaring temperatures have you feeling a little irritable, you're not alone.
Mental health in extreme heat is a real issue.
Clinical psychologist James McCowan with Massachusetts General Hospital says high heat exposure may cause those with underlying conditions like depression and anxiety to have heightened symptoms. That can include increases in suicidal thinking, violent behavior, and substance use.
We know people with mental health issues have high rates of emergency room admissions in the context of heat waves.
McCowan says having a heat plan can help. First, before going out, check not only daily temperatures, but also the heat index so you know just how hot it's expected to be and to feel. Next, know your risks. Certain medications like antidepressants and antipsychotics may affect the body's ability to cool itself.
So talking to your prescriber or your primary care doctor is really key here, just to know if you're an at-risk person.
And stay hydrated, which includes drinking water, but also being aware of your caffeine intake. Finally, have a plan to get cool during the day if you need to. For those of you who are unhoused, that could include a cooling center or public space with air conditioning.
There are even heat first aid kits you can get online. They have electrolytes, they have cooling things you can have stored in your home if you're in a place that experiences extreme heat.
Patty Santos, KSAT 12 News.
And of course, if you are struggling with mental health or having harmful thoughts, you can always call, text, or chat with the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Well, happening today, the City of San Antonio's Transportation Department is considering whether or not to approve a grant application that could lead to carrying out a safe route to school program. Now, if approved, the application for such a program would be submitted to TxDOT. So the estimated cost of preparing the planning and the concept design is $800,000. The city would know by October if the application is approved. Early stage creation for the program has already started at 3 schools. So this is Coker Elementary, Loma Park Elementary, and Mark Twain Dual Language Academy. Officials say the grant would provide a solid planning template to help the department identify schools seeking supported infrastructure in their communities.
In a marathon meeting that stretched into the early morning, the Judson ISD School Board unanimously approved significant financial cuts across the district. To tackle their budget deficit, the district is eliminating vacant positions, including a district social worker and academic coaches. They're also cutting 2 positions in communications. Athletics will see changes too, with the elimination of a secretary position, and the golf and powerlifting programs are now gone due to low participation. That despite recent success for Wagner and Veterans Memorial High Schools in powerlifting. The district also cut student athletic insurance and letterman's jackets. Additionally, pre-kindergarten for 3-year-olds has been removed. The potential savings for these cuts are still unclear. The board will now vote on the full 2025-2026 budget after a public hearing.
Well, 4 months since the Texas Education Agency took over South San ISD and put in a new board and new superintendent, the former superintendent, Henry Izigare, has formally resigned. So Izigare will get a year's payment of $280,000 as part of his severance payment. You can read the story and what led to the TEA taking over on our website, KSAT.com. Just search South San ISD. Well, raised garden beds, wide paths, and vegetables within arm's reach. But this isn't just any garden here. This is an accessible garden for people with disabilities and veterans. So right now, there's just one backyard plot. However, this project is expected to grow. Our Avery Everett introduces us to the people behind it all.
Cosmos, zinnias.
Where did this idea for an accessible garden even come from?
This idea came from a want and a need.
It's not just herbs and vegetables growing in this backyard garden. Haley and Tomas are planting seeds of change.
As people with disabilities, all the bending and kneeling involved in traditional gardening can sometimes take the joy out of something that's meant to be so joyous.
That's what they're trying to change, and it's the reason they created the group Gardening for Everybody. Their mission is simple. Create spaces where people with all abilities can belong. And after weeks of classes and hours of building,
The second one's coming along.
they've now finished their first accessible garden.
Tomas built these raised garden beds himself with some help from our friends.
Was it hard, Tomas?
Yes.
So what does an accessible garden actually mean? Here, there's lots of shade, extra room to move, and raised gardening beds.
What do you want to show her?
The pepper.
Do it in style, Tomas.
What started as a project between 2 friends has quickly grown.
Now Dustin's able to go all through here. It makes us feel included and like a part of, and it's really a garden for everybody.
And now they're looking to build their next garden.
I think so often in this world, creating with disability in mind is an afterthought and not a starting point.
They're collecting donations and talking to nonprofits to keep this effort moving.
Something is in the works right now to try to make this more accessible to more people.
Accessible?
Yeah.
That's important to you, Tomas?
Yeah.
Affordable and accessible.
With ideas rooted, Haley and Tomas say they're ready to see what's next. Watering their big idea and waiting for the city of San Antonio to watch it grow. Avery Everett, KSAT 12 News.
Absolutely love that idea. Good for them. All right, the Spurs team is shaping up to include some fresh talent next season. A look at their latest draft picks and what they're hoping to bring to the Silver and Black.
The Trump administration is blasting reports that suggest the U.S. airstrikes on Iran's nuclear facilities were anything short of total obliteration. I'm Christiane Cordero in Washington with what we know coming up.
Well, the Trump administration is again pushing back on reports that question the effectiveness of last week's airstrikes on Iran's nuclear program.
ABC's Christiane Cordero reports the president says there could be face-to-face talks between the U.S. and Iran next week, while also suggesting a deal.
Today, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth stood before a room of reporters he has lambasted ever since a preliminary report by the Defense Intelligence Agency said the U.S. attack on Iran's nuclear facilities last week damaged but did not destroy the country's nuclear program. Hegseth, along with the Joint Chiefs Chairman, referenced a poster board to outline the military strategy and read from the preliminary report to make the administration's case.
It says in the report there are gaps in the information. It says in the report multiple linchpin assumptions are what this assessment, a linchpin assumption, you know what that is? That means your entire premise is predicated on a linchpin.
Sources familiar with the preliminary report tell ABC News it says Iran moved at least some of its stockpile of enriched uranium before the U.S. attack. The agency that conducted the classified report says it will take days to weeks to know the true extent of the damage. And today, Iran's supreme leader in a televised speech claimed victory over the U.S. and Israel, adding the U.S. attack failed to achieve anything significant. As the Trump administration weighs potentially meeting with Iran next week, though no such meeting appears to be on the schedule, and by Trump's own assessment, negotiations may no longer be necessary.
Iran will not have nuclear. Well, we blew it up. It's blown up. To kingdom come.
Congress, meanwhile, is waiting for its classified briefing after it was postponed yesterday. The Senate will be briefed today.
There's a difference between severe damage and obliteration. And just 2 months. And I want to know how much we set back in days or months or years.
Officials with the administration will give its classified briefing to members of the House tomorrow. Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
Look out there with live cam this afternoon, heating up to 86 degrees. Looks pretty out there, and we've been enjoying these, even in their small chances of rain. We've been enjoying that cloud cover.
Every little bit helps in the summer, and we've gotten through June doing pretty well. Things are about to change as we get into July. It is going to get hotter. Pollen count, molds are moderate at 890. That number's coming down from yesterday's high of 7,200. Recent rains have kicked the molds up a little bit, and in your aquifer level. We're seeing things come down, unfortunately, down 0.6 of a foot to 636.1. What about more rain? And what about that Saharan dust? And updates coming up.
So even though we're talking, of course, when we had some serious downpours and now they're kind of scattered and slowing down, we really need to appreciate, because we're getting to that point in the year where it's going to be fewer and far between.
Yes, I think I termed it earlier as a minor miracle that we've gotten through June the way we have.
It's so true, though.
And I think it's a lot just recency bias, because the last several years have just been so brutal. So this June has actually felt okay. As we get into July, the pattern is going to start to shift more towards our typical kind of summer-like pattern. Let's take a look at the headlines here. We'll just kind of break it down for you. The main takeaways here. First being, yes, less coverage through the weekend when it comes to rain. We'll still have some chances, but they won't be as good as what we've been seeing as of late. Saharan dust, as I said, will be another topic of conversation. You'll notice some haze next week in the sky as some of that dust works in from the east. And 4th of July, a lot of people asking about that forecast. It is about to get hot, and I think we could be near triple digits for Independence Day. So that'll be another thing to watch out for. Allergen calendar. We made it through mountain cedar and oak tree season. We had a little reprieve. Now we're headed into Saharan dust season. So it's like the, I joked about this earlier. It looks like the mall map. You remember those? You are here. That's where we are. Saharan dust, and we're going to start to feel it here next couple days. So it is the next big thing. Let me show you how this works. So dust in the Saharan desert gets picked up and pushed way up into the atmosphere. Then the trade winds carry it all the way across the Atlantic. It moves thousands of miles. And a lot of times these plumes of dust can make their way all the way into Texas. And by the way, sort of an interesting aside here, this dust is actually important. It gets dropped across the Amazon rainforest too, and actually helps with growth and development there. So it's all interconnected. But we feel it sometimes here in South Texas, and we'll see that haze in the sky. I think starting Sunday, but going through Monday, Tuesday, and probably Wednesday too. And the main takeaway for us here is that we'll see a hazy horizon, beautiful sunrises and sunsets because they'll be more colorful, and you could have some mild allergies. When you're talking about air quality here, now most of this is suspended way up in the atmosphere, but sometimes it can affect air quality a little bit. Saturday, I think we're fine. Sunday, we're going to put it in the unhealthy category for some, and that's probably going to be the case Monday too. So just a heads up, if you have severe asthma or allergies, just could be something that does affect you. Temperatures at this hour, 88 in San Antonio, 86 in Houston, 90 right now in Abilene. 93 Washington, 88 Charlotte. These numbers are much, much better than they have been in the last couple of days. If you were watching yesterday, the day before, they were already near 100 at this point. So it's improving. The feels like numbers are still not so great. 103 Washington, but New York City, much, much better. And the heat is going to subside up here, and it's going to kind of shift towards Texas. So that's that warm stuff I was talking about as we get towards the 4th of July. Meantime, the Authority radar is showing some showers and thunderstorms out around Victoria. Most of this is trying to stay east of us, and the pattern is for this to really probably stay to the east of San Antonio, although a few isolated showers and downpours will be possible again today. And the Futurecast does show that by 5 o'clock. A couple of spotty showers here. That could be right around the evening commute. A lucky few may get some rain. Then as we get into tomorrow, I think the rain chances come way down. This computer model doesn't show much at all tomorrow afternoon. In fact, just partly cloudy skies. So our forecast, 7-day forecast here, 94 Friday, 94 Saturday, 20% chance of rain Saturday, Sunday. And then notice we get into hazy conditions the rest of the weekend and going into next week with high temperatures starting to climb. And we're going to talk more about the heat coming up here in just a little bit, guys.
Okay, we'll talk about the heat again, Justin.
If we have to.
The San Antonio Spurs are ready to welcome new members to the team. We're going to hear from one of their draft picks this afternoon and what he's looking forward to as he joins the Silver and Black.
We have some breaking news that we want to get you to on the city's west side. The scene you're looking at doesn't have audio because there is a standoff type situation, and they are screaming some things that maybe we don't want to go over live there.
That's true, and we do have a crew there at that neighborhood. This is near Westland Drive and West Military Drive, and right now they are waiting to get an update as to what is going on.
But if you do live in this area, San Antonio police have part of the surrounding streets blocked off. So that's from West Shore to West Briar. Our photojournalist Luis Cienfuegos is at the scene where he talked with witnesses who say this may have started as a chase.
Well, I turn my corner like I do every morning, and I go about 3 houses up, and here comes somebody, 90 miles an hour, and I just, get the hell out of the way. And then, so I knew, they were chasing him out here, and then by the time I turned on spur to go up that way, 1, 2, 3, and then all the other guys behind them. It was just crazy.
And we are going to continue to monitor this situation. We're going to bring you an update as soon as we get more information.
Meanwhile, as we know, it is Pride Week in San Antonio.
That's right. So let's look ahead to some of the Pride events happening today and also this weekend. So Expressions, Visions by Flavio Multimedia Art, a multimedia art showcase will highlight the work of Flavio Benavides and the Pride of San Antonio show band today at 6 p.m.
It will be at Woodlawn Point. That address on your screen is 702 Donaldson Avenue. The event is free and open to the public. So for more information, though, head to KSAT.com.
And then happening this Saturday, the Pride Bigger Than Texas Festival is going to take place from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Crockett Park. Of course, this is located at 1300 North Main Avenue, so you and your family can enjoy a parade, some live music, and a lot more. So a reminder, this is a ticketed event, so for more information on those tickets, you can head over to KSAT.com. There will also be a meet and greet with the Bigger Than Texas Grand Marshal Flavio Benavides. So tomorrow, that is happening from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. at the Bottom Exchange.
Well, the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center announced featured films for the 46th Cine Festival San Antonio.
The festival will take place from July 9th to July 13th, and it's going to be held at the Carver Community Cultural Center. So some of the movies on the list are Carnalissimo, which is a brotherhood of shared passion and a refuge from discrimination.
Hola Frida, which is an animated film that showcases the early years of Frida Kahlo's life. Selena y los Dinos, which is the chronicle of the late singer-songwriter's life and legacy.
And Uvalde Mom, the story of Angelique Gomez, a mother who rushed in during a school shooting to save her 2 sons. Now, individual tickets for all these screenings will be available Friday, June 27th.
And for more information about Cine Festival and the 2025 lineup, just head to our website.
And if you're looking for something to do tonight, the Texas Public Radio is hosting another Summer Night City. So this is a free event. It's going to feature local music, food, vendors, and a lot more. So Summer Night City is going to take place from 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. and it's happening at 321 West Commerce Street.
Well, the future shining even brighter for the San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah, the Spurs selected 6'6" Dylan Harper. And the Spurs are getting a player with a high upside. He's a master of the pick and roll. He gets downhill and is an elite finisher around the rim. So at just 19 years old, Harper adds to a deep Spurs backcourt that boasts De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle.
Not to mention, Harper comes from an NBA pedigree. Sports director Larry Ramirez went one-on-one with Harper right after he was selected in New York.
We are joined now by Dylan Harper, the number 2 overall pick in tonight's NBA draft. Dylan, welcome to San Antonio. What does it mean for you to be a member of the San Antonio Spurs?
Man, it means the world to me. I think being from such a prestigious organization like the Spurs and just getting drafted into a great young group of guys, young core, great coaching staff from top to bottom, management, and just everything you want in a program is right there. So just me having the ability to play with them is just honestly amazing.
Tell me your thoughts and your feelings. You heard the commissioner call your name. You get to hug it out with all your family and you walk up on stage. Relive that moment for us.
Man, I almost cried. I think when you get in that moment, like, I got the call with like 4 minutes left, so I'm just sitting there like, please don't cry. Like, let's hold your emotions in for a little bit and then you can let it all out. And then my mom kept tapping me. So that almost got me. But just seeing how happy everyone was, like, put me through the roof just to see how excited they were for me and just how far we've came.
You mentioned your mom a lot. Why?
Because, I mean, she's the foundation to everything. She's been here through thick and thin, from good times to bad times and everything. So just giving it all to her and just giving her the world.
Tell Spurs fans what they're getting in you as a player and as a young man in the community.
I think as a young man in the community, I think a great person, do everything in his power to put a smile on people's face and just always be happy no matter what. And then from a basketball standpoint, just I think a winner is someone who wants to win and will do whatever the coach asks him to do to win. And just always be that one guy to kind of pick everyone up.
And last thing for me, tell us about your fit, man.
I mean, I got the Versace with the Christian Louboutin, all black with a little bit of nice little hit to it.
That's pretty sharp. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate
all right, let's send it back to you.
Gotta love that. In Versace,
Outfit,
I
yes.
know, love it. Okay, well, with people spending more on essentials, gas prices are one thing we are all keeping track of. So how will your summer road trip budget be impacted?
As the federal government continues its crackdown on illegal border crossings, there is a change coming that could affect San Antonio. How the military will help temporarily detain migrants before handing them off to law enforcement. Let's look out there this afternoon with live cam. No rain chances now, and I have a feeling that I think next week there will be even less of a chance of rain.
You are correct. Look at this live cam. Look at all the trees. It's beautiful.
Beautiful
They're green.
trees, so green.
They are. Okay, let's take a look at the drought monitor. This came in earlier this morning. It did not change as expected. It's holding steady. You know, we chipped into it a little bit, but the recent heavy rains, but we're still in an exceptional drought. It really looks a lot like last week. What about rain chances? Well, we have a small chance today, 20%. 20% chance Saturday, Sunday. But as Steph alluded to, next week those rain chances go down even lower. I mean, we can't completely rule it out, but we're going to start to see high pressure building a little bit closer to us, and that's going to keep rain pretty much out of the picture. As it stands right now, we do have a couple showers east of San Antonio. I know it's kind of hard to see there, but the thicker clouds are east of us, and that's where we're getting some development. There's some rain up in the Texas Panhandle, but San Antonio points west, clear, and we're getting those warm temperatures really starting to kick in. That heat high does make an arrival, so how hot will it be next week for the 4th of July? That forecast, I promise, is coming up, guys.
Well, the U.S. military is expected to announce 2 new military zones along the southern border this week, and one will be tied to San Antonio. So CNN is reporting this is according to 3 U.S. officials. The zones are called National Defense Areas, and one will be attached to Joint Base San Antonio, and it will include roughly 250 miles of the Rio Grande River. So the other zone will be attached to Marine Corps Air Station Yuma in Arizona. That will extend more than 100 miles along the border. The zones are considered extensions of military installations, so that will allow troops to temporarily detain migrants there before handing them off to law enforcement. 2 other national defense areas were attached to Fort Bliss in Texas and to Fort Oaxaca in Arizona this spring.
Well, a warning before this next story, because the video may be hard to watch. It's about unidentified migrant remains housed in a refrigerated trailer. It's a story we told you about back in October and what Maverick County and the city of Eagle Pass resorted to try to identify the bodies of those who lost their life on the journey to the U.S. This is what that trailer looked like in October. It was full, but that is not the case anymore. Just a few weeks ago, Maverick County officials and a nonprofit finished identifying those remains, sending them back to loved ones and giving others proper burials. That means now the trailer is empty.
As of the point of clearing out the EOC morgue, we have not seen any report of any new migrant death that has been reported. I'm grateful, one, that we haven't seen the numbers to the level of where they once were, because any individual should never have to go through something as that.
Maverick County Judge Ramsey Cantu explains with fewer border crossings, it allowed for nonprofits and officials to clear the trailer and get those who died to their families and their final resting place. Well, your summer road trip may be a little less expensive this year with current summer gas prices at their lowest in 4 years. The national average for a gallon of gas was about $3.20 this week. The price is only a few cents higher than a month ago and more than 20 cents lower than this time last year. The last time prices were lower than this was late June was 2021. Gas prices usually go up in the summer. A fragile ceasefire between Iran and Israel has stabilized prices. It comes as AAA projects nearly 62 million Americans will travel by car this coming 4th of July holiday.
A vaccine advisory group to the CDC voted to recommend a new vaccine against RSV for newborns and infants. It was the first vote by the new advisory committee on immunization practices since being appointed by HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So he abruptly dismissed the previous panel earlier this month. The FDA approved the antibody vaccine known by the brand name Influenza now earlier this month. So the committee also announced it will study the cumulative effects of the childhood and adolescent vaccine schedules during Wednesday's meeting. The new group of advisors has been met with some controversy since some have been accused of holding anti-vaccine views. Well, the city is scrapping plans now that would have forced some property owners to move. It was all part of an effort to address drainage issues, how the city plans to tackle that problem right now.
And if you're in the market for a new job, you might have trouble landing one quickly. That's because hiring is slowing. This noon, a look at the job market and how you can stand out among other candidates.
Well, a lot of people might be having trouble finding work, and that's because there is an economic uncertainty which impacts hiring. But that's only part of the story. So Don Fay works at recruiting firm Robert Half. They recently asked more than 2,200 U.S. managers about hiring and found that 93% say the process is taking longer than it did 2 years ago. And one of the big reasons why is they are overwhelmed with applicants.
It is causing people to have that much more information and resumes to go through.
Well, Don Fay says the hiring slowdown is happening across all industries and it's affecting entry-level roles and senior positions.
So how can you stand out?
We want to really be able to give the specifics of things that you have accomplished. What has been the return on your efforts that have been there? Those types of things tend to really stand out.
Fay says don't fill your resume out with a bunch of keywords. Give specifics about how you might get tight deadlines or you did a project under budget. She also recommends getting a referral from someone at the company. And most importantly, Faye says the hiring process can take anywhere from a week to 6 months, so try to be patient.
Well, school is out for summer. However, classes kick off in no time. So if you're already planning your back to school shopping budget, our digital journalist Ivan Anetta has a look at the savings that you can already find at Walmart.
Who doesn't love to save money? Now, if you're getting ready to buy for back to school, a new TV, or even some new appliances, early next month might be your best chance to save some bucks. Walmart's Deals event runs from July 8th to the 13th, and some of the deals include brand name crayons, smart monitors, advanced cordless vacuums, seasonal items that are available for pre-order like a Nutcracker and Gingerbread House, and even men's and women's watches. Now, you don't have to be a Walmart Plus subscriber to get the deals, but members get early access starting a day early on July 7th. The retailer says most deals will be available in stores and online for curbside pickup. You can find a full list of what you can save on KSAT.com. Ivan Herrera, KSAT 12 News.
Back outside with live cam, up to 86, just a couple degrees higher, but it's really not horrible, Justin.
It's not. As we've been saying, June's been pretty good to us, especially rainfall-wise. I mean, I know we had the flooding rains, but it's put us up to 19.05 for the year, with the bulk of that coming this month. The average is 15.68, so we are still 3 inches above average. You compare that to Austin, which is now above, or below average, I should say, and Del Rio, which is well below average. So we're doing okay for the time being, but I'm afraid we're about to head into a pretty dry pattern. We'll show it to you coming up.
We're having a conversation about how different we are as people, how Justin is so good at the math and science because you would hope so as a meteorologist.
Yeah, that's the way it works.
And we're just English folks over here. I'll write an essay every day.
Love the English classes. I do remember liking math in school, but I didn't want to continue it into the career.
That's okay.
See, now we have a good spread.
Exactly.
Right? We need someone who's good at everything.
Literature, man. I need all that stuff.
Okay, so what math did you do today for the forecast?
Well, I actually didn't do much math today. There's not much. There's not
because
much.
There's not a lot. Okay.
No, it is just hot. That's going to be really the theme going forward. We have our heat high, which has been over the Northeast and the East Coast, and it's brought them excessive heat. It is finally starting to shift, so they're going to get some relief up there. They're already starting to see that up around New York City. But that heat high moves a little closer to Texas. Now, I will tell you this. This is not one of those big ridges that we've seen in years past. It sits over us, and it's super strong. And, we climb into the 100s. It's not that, but it is strong enough to where it should pretty much take rain out of the equation, and it is going to heat us up next week as we get towards the 4th of July. It just kind of meanders around. Again, not super strong, but strong enough. And you look at the temperature outlook as we get into early July, and this is from the Climate Prediction Center, and the way to read this map is the darker the orange, the higher the likelihood you are to see above average temperatures. And San Antonio sits within that range. Dallas, New Orleans, Houston as well. The cooler stuff is going to be across the desert Southwest, which they've been doing really good as far as rainfall goes. They continue to see the monsoon, and that's keeping temperatures cooler out west. But Texas over to Florida is about to see some pretty hot temperatures. These are the daytime highs next week. 95 Monday, 96 Tuesday, 97 Wednesday, 99 Thursday, and 99 for the 4th of July. So a steady climb here above average. The average is 94 for this time of year. And you're going to see the heat index climb too. So we'll likely have feels like numbers above 100 for Independence Day. Always important to keep in the back of your mind because, we're going to be outdoors and there's going to be beverages and all that sort of thing. So just know it is going to be hot and you can dehydrate pretty easily in this kind of weather, although we're used to seeing this kind of heat on the 4th of July. It'll be all across Texas, 102 in Houston, 101 Waco, 100 San Angelo, 102 Del Rio, 99 the forecast high in San Antonio for the 4th of July. And look, we're still a ways out, so these numbers may change a little bit, but that's the general idea. Outside right now, some puffy cumulus clouds, but they aren't growing into any thunderstorms, not yet anyway. 86 degrees at the airport, 86 in New Braunfels, 87 Converse, and these feels like numbers starting to climb into the 90s just about everywhere but Bernie. And we should see heat index values climb to the mid to upper 90s. The last couple of days we've topped out at about 97 for that heat index, and I'm guessing that's about where we'll be today. Authority radar shows we've got some showers down here across parts of Goliad County down towards Beeville. These are, like the last few days, trying to lift off to the north and northwest, although this go around it's a little more of a northerly track. We'll see if they can spread a little bit further inland towards San Antonio this afternoon. This computer model does show some of that, so we'll keep it a 20% chance for a downpour. And really, I'd say between 4 and 6 p.m. is kind of our best window if we're going to see any of this here in San Antonio. Everything dies down tonight with the loss of daytime heating. And then tomorrow we're going to see a lower chance for rain, probably 10% or less on your Friday, with 20% chance returning this weekend. Very quickly, hour by hour here, 6 p.m. 92, 83 at 9 o'clock, and then mostly clear tonight. And the extended forecast will go 94 tomorrow, 20% chance for rain this weekend, and then some hazy skies because of that Saharan dust we discussed a little bit earlier, guys.
Justin, thank you. We're going to get back to some breaking news that we heard earlier in the newscast that's happening on the city's west side off of Westland and Military Drive.
SAPD is now talking to give us some more information, so let's listen in.
They often recover stolen property from this location, stolen vehicles, and it's just a problem, a nuisance house. So it's very well known to the district officers as well as the West Safe officers. So they had an idea that this is where they were going to go, and sure enough, as officers pulled up to approach this approach the home, the suspects were in a stolen vehicle, bailed from the vehicle and ran into the house, and that's where we are right now.
That house, is that their house or somebody?
So it's familiar to them. I don't know if they own it or what the relationship they are to that home, but like I said, our district officers and our safe officers are very familiar with the house, and like I said, they're continuously are often recovering stolen property from that house.
I see SWAT here, so are these dangerous?
So we have, so because they kind of barricaded themselves in the home, the officers surrounded the home and called for a SWAT unit. That's just standard procedure. And so SWAT made the location, and as you can hear on the overhead, they're trying to negotiate for them to come out. We are working on getting a search warrant. So if they don't come out by the time that our officers that search warrant's signed, and when Safe has all the information and all the equipment they need, they're going to make entry. And so far, one of the suspects has come out. He is in custody. We're at this time, we believe the second suspect to still be in the house.
How many people are we talking about inside the house?
I don't know. I know for sure that there was one suspect that came out, and there was some other witnesses that came out. I don't know the number of those, but of the people inside, we think one of them is the second suspect, and I don't know how many people are still in that house.
Did you notice any of the stolen vehicles?
Yeah, so one stolen vehicle they bailed from is still in the street. We're leaving it there because our CSI unit's going to come out and process it for prints and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, they have we're going to recover at least one stolen vehicle from this location.
Do you know of the other location?
You are listening right now to the public information officers with SAPD. There is still a stand-up. The main thing you can hear is some of the officers screaming out, hands up, come out of the house. We know that one of the suspects, after a chase, has been pulled out of the house and is in custody, but there is at least one more person in there.
Yeah, they're actually not sure how many people may be in the house right now. The suspects initially ran into the house, and again, this is happening in the area on the city's west side on Westland and Military, and they said that the safe officers in the area are familiar with that house, that they've recovered stolen property from there before, but again, as Courtney said, they're in the process of trying to get at least one suspect out right now.
Yeah, and they don't know whose house it is. We have our Luis Cienfuegos asking some questions out there, and he's going to get more answers from us, but we do know the search warrant has been issued, so they plan to make their way in there as soon as they can, obviously given the safety of the officers.
But we'll continue to keep you updated here and then also online on our website at ksat.com.
Nearly 150 families were worried they would have to move because of an effort to address drainage issues. Patty Santos explains why that is no longer the case.
At this point, your understanding is that there will be they're not moving forward with those plans to move people from this community.
Exactly.
Correct, yeah. That's what we're told.
Yeah. Thompson community neighbors Eddie Medina and Sarah Mauricio are cautiously optimistic about the news. The City of San Antonio Public Works Department confirming to KSAT displacement of 150 plus homes will no longer be considered. The city instead switching gears by creating a stakeholders group of District 5 residents and businesses to give input on any future proposal, and by hiring a design firm to do public outreach and come up with a new plan for the drainage relief project.
Right after the heaviest downpour, I came and took some video of our drainage system there, flowing smoothly. Everything was, it probably was no more than 4 foot high.
Eddie is skeptical about the need for flood control updates.
As long as they keep it cleaned and maintained, it has no issues.
Public Works tells us the creek itself is cleaned and mowed several times a year as needed. City leaders say major updates are needed to prevent a catastrophic impact. The Federal Emergency Management Agency says 2,200 buildings in the Thompson community area are at a 1% or more high risk of flooding each year. Sarah and Eddie can only wait to see what the city decides to do.
There's a lot of neighbors that are kind of worried about it still. But, all we can do is go by what they tell us and hope for the best.
Patty Santos, KSAT 12 News.